CNN's profits are expected to fall below the $1 billion mark for the first time since 2016. This comes as its new boss, Chris Licht, scrambles for new ways to generate revenue. According to the New York Times, Licht has tapped a longtime friend, Chris Marlin, to help solve the financial pickle, someone who has no experience in cable news operations. Quote, Marlin has floated a variety of revenue-generating ideas since joining CNN, including striking advertising deals with major tech companies like Microsoft. Mr. Marlin has also mentioned selling sponsorships to corporate underwriters, extending CNN's brand in China, and expanding CNN Underscored, an e-commerce initiative.
Wonder if those ideas will work. I don't know, expanding in China, how that will change their China coverage. That's always the question about that kind of stuff. Look, they're struggling to find an audience, and that's something we've been talking about on the show a lot. They built this very Trump-obsessed, resistance liberal kind of audience. I was on, I did a segment for News Nation last night, I think, and the segment before me was talking with a guest who had done some kind of profile of what CNN and MSNBC and Fox are like and how their ideological trajectory has changed. And this guest was telling Dan Abrams, this was on his News Nation show last night, the guest was saying that CNN has actually, by some stretches depending how you define this, become more liberal than MSNBC in the last 5 years or something. So they built themselves a young, very liberal audience, but young, very liberal people are not watching cable news anymore. They're getting rid of their cable subscriptions. I think I am finally ready to lose my cable subscription. I have one because I've always thought, well, I'm in the TV journalism business. I think it is convenient and important to be able to turn on the TV and flip from Fox's coverage to MSNBC's coverage to CNN, et cetera. I don't do that very much anymore. When I'm done with this job at the end of the day, I want to watch Netflix or HBO like everyone else. And so I think, if I'm ready to move on, I have to imagine this is a dwindling viewership pool.
Yeah, look, so I do think that there is a kind of a technology aspect of this that's not anybody's fault. The pivot to YouTube, the fact that younger people like different kinds of content, they like to have streaming content that's kind of on in the background all day, and the way that older folks used to leave the news on in the background or at airports all day and those kinds of things. But they expect a more interpersonal approach. They like the idea of opinion news. They want a take from somebody that they trust and who shares their politics, which for young people basically doesn't exist on the mainstream news. But I think another part of it, especially when you're talking about a place like CNN, is I think there has been this effort historically by CNN to be the kind of neutral, kind of middle ground Switzerland of the news. And like so many folks who misdiagnose the mood of the country, they think, and I talk about this in my radar today, that to appeal to a broader slice of the pie, you need to create the average aggregate of the most left and the most right person and just find whatever that middle point is and pitch to that. The problem is that's not how people form their views, and there's literally nobody there. There's nobody there. This weird chimera of a liberal and a conservative, that they exist in, Liz Cheney and Never Trump Republicans and Michael Steele and the kind of people that they find to go on these programs. What they don't have is an honest, robust debate with people who are actual Trump supporters, right? They love to have Never Trump people on. Most people are actually Trump supporters. Have those conservatives on and have them talking with
not most people, but the largest faction within, right?
Yeah, most conservatives. If they're going to have a conservative point of view, why have someone that represents the marginal conservative point of view? And I say that as we sit here as a libertarian and Green Party person. But
let's not take this too far here.
But at least I know what Democrats say. I know what they're thinking. I'm plugged in and watching what they're doing in a way that they are not paying attention to the broader energies on either side of the aisle. A lot of the populist energies, a lot of the independent energies, they are not tapped in at all. And I think that's reflected in their coverage and their viewership numbers.
We should do a day where we maybe for Halloween or something, you act like you're a CNN resistance liberal Democratic Party person, and I'll act like I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Trump MAGA person, and we see how the show goes.
Well, Robby, I gotta say, as a black woman, I really just think it's privilege to lean too much in.
The Dems are destroying this country. Biden is killing us all right now.
Well, look, now the audience has a taste of what they're really getting here and what they're they're avoiding by not watching mainstream TV.
Well, what they're avoiding in part is discussions that are utterly unproductive, that are, I mean, we have longer form conversations here. We have an actual exchange of views. There's no exchange of views happening on any of those channels whatsoever. There's no one brought on who disagrees with the host. That never happens. It's just more, here's what I think, here's more of what I think. You're so right. Rap segment, which is just boring. Who wants to watch that?
When I am selecting and curating panels, for my own podcast, I'm not looking for people I agree with. I frequently am struggling to find people who I know have an active conflict with each other, but who are also willing to come to the table. And that can be difficult,
hard to do.
Right? It's particularly difficult, I often find, to get liberals to come and sit down with leftists and have their views challenged. But some of my favorite conversations, most robust conversations, have been with folks who people, even in my own political cohort, they revile. And I sometimes get a lot of backlash for those episodes, but they are the most constructive episodes, the most interesting episodes, because so often people are talking past each other. And when you get them in the same room, they can either explain why it is that they hold this belief that's contrary, or realize that they actually aren't that far apart after all. And I think if we had actual right-wing and left-wing populists in the room more often, the contradictions in our belief systems would be exposed. The lies that parties tell each other about who each other are and what their priorities are would be exposed. And the fact that, frankly, both corporate parties offer very little in terms of concrete solutions would be exposed in a way that made people want to reinvest in politics instead of being so checked out.
Well, tomorrow on Rising, we'll be going over the latest on the monkeypox outbreak, as well as following the aftermath of Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss any content. And for those of you who like to listen while on the go, we are now available anywhere you listen to podcasts.
See you later.
Bye-bye.